So, Gabby, where and when were you born?
I was born in 1970 in Uruguay, in Montevideo.
What month? I'm interested in your astrological sign.
I was born on the 1st of April, 1970. I'm an April Fool.
I think that's Aries, the ram.
Okay, yeah, Aries.
And
True.
they can be very strong-willed and forceful like a ram. But they're also Aries that are like lambs. So are you more like a ram or a lamb?
Both, depending on the company.
Okay. Gracias, Chris. Where and when were you born?
He was born in Paysandú in 1979.
And what month?
He was born in January the 11th.
So Capricorn, mountain
Yeah.
goat. So you're a ram and a mountain goat.
Okay.
Does that mean sometimes they butt heads?
Yeah, like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Could you say a little bit about your education and career paths? So, Gabby, how did you become a teacher?
I became a teacher because I was doing economics and I was doing English. I was about to sit for a proficiency exam, the CPE, and there was a friend of mine who was studying psychology and already taught. And I was pretty much like a copycat, and I decided to say, hey, I would like to teach as well. And so that was when I was 19 years old. So at 19, I took my very few documents, certificates, and somebody thought that I could be fit for teaching. And then I became a professional, but at the beginning it was just like a life choice. Like, let's see how it works. And then I would quit university and I devoted all my time to teaching.
And what grade level do you teach English?
At the beginning, well, now I currently teach teacher training courses and secondary schools. But when I started teaching um, primary school and then secondary school. And not until 2004 did I dare teach, future teachers.
Have you seen differences in your teenage students since you started teaching in terms of their attitudes, interests?
Yeah, it's like the middle was hard because when I started teaching, it was very easy. Like most of my students were about my age, and so they looked up me because I was almost as young as they were, and I could accomplish so much. But then I became older, and with age came upheavals and things. Why should I say as you do or do as you say or whatever, right? And that was difficult. And then one day, hard to tell you when exactly, I started, I don't know, feeling more confident in front of no matter who, and gained confidence, and kind of people could actually perceive it. Like, I approach any stranger under the most unbelievable circumstances, and that's maybe because of teaching.
And what about changes in the attitudes of students? Are they as hardworking? Some people say they're spoiled. They don't they don't have patience because they're on the internet so much.
There was a time in which respect was out of the question. Like, people would respect you for the very fact that you were the teacher, and then that diminished. And these days you have to gain every inch of respect that you get. Like, you gain it from day one. And for example, what I do is I have incorporated WhatsApp to my classes way before COVID-19. And so on day one, I take my cell phone, unblock it, and give it to somebody and say, hey, what's your name? Add yourself as a contact in my cell phone. And they look at me like, what? Yeah. And I teach them. For example, if it's a 6th engineering 1, they have to write 60H Eng Ann, for example, or Peter, or Tom, or Javier. And so when I create the group, I create the group with all engineer 1 and engineer 1, whatever, whoever. And that works, because nobody can pull your leg using the phone unless they do it from another number, right? That is something that worked. So when COVID-19 came, I had that tool, right? I had that tool already that I had been perfectioning for 5 years already. So it's amazing. Like, I trust my students, and that's almost automatically my students trust me.
Mm.
In 6 years of using WhatsApp, I only had 3 misconducts related to WhatsApp. So I think that the rate is very, very low, really.
Oh, yeah. What about Chris? Education, work?
Well, Chris está preguntando de tu educación, mi amor.
Bueno, yo fui a la escuela, número 48 de Lorenzo Geires, Paysandú. Bueno, después de ahí hice carpintería, un curso de carpintería curso móvil vendría a ser de UTU. Hice 3 años de carpintería, y después de ahí, bueno, yo trabajé en varios lados, digo, ¿no? En lo que es en donde yo vivía, en el pueblo donde yo vivía, pueblo Lorenzo Geires, en el departamento de Paysandú. Trabajé en una, vendría a ser citricultura, como es bueno, estuve trabajando en un lugar de citricultura, entré trabajando como carpintero, después seguí laburando como cosechador de naranja también, porque justamente precisaban gente para la cosecha, y dice, ¿no te animás? Digo, voy a probar, digo, porque es algo diferente para mí.
Okay.
Do you remember all that?
What he's saying is that he attended primary school in a very small town, in the northern Uruguay, in San Jose, in a region called Quehuay. The town is called Lorenzo Geires, and that he became carpenter, because he learned, he went to to trade school and became a carpenter, and there he was hired by some citrus packers, and so he started making drawers made for boxes for the oranges and lemons and all that. And then he didn't say that, but after that, he became all trades Johnny, whatever you call it,
Jack
and
of all
then
trades.
Jack of all trades, a jack of all trades, and then he entered the Navy. So he went straight from Paysandú to Montevideo. El primer barco fue la fragata.
Fragata Artigas, Roger 2.
Okay, so it was RO1, a boat called Fragata Artigas. That was really, really into the military. Like there were ranks and everything. And then he moved to row number 1, ROU number 1. That is a big ship that goes to Antarctica. So he's been in Antarctica 3 times. He's been in Congo once. He's been in Germany once too, because the ship had to be brought all the way from Germany. So he flew to Germany and came back in the ship that became the ROU1. Yeah.
Is he still in the Navy?
Wait a minute, yeah, but it was row 04. Sorry, it was not ROU1, it's ROU4. ROU4 is the one that goes to Antarctica, and he's been in Antarctica, he's been to Brazil. A la Antártida fuiste, en el row.
Fui Antártida, Venezuela, Colombia, Panamá, Brasil, Bahía, Río de Janeiro, Fortaleza,
África.
Y no llegué a ir a África, pero fuimos a Haití a llevar contingente de misiones de paz, o sea, de ONU, llevamos gente y trajimos gente a Haití.
So he's been carrying people from the UN missions and been to Haiti. And you understood when he said Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, and he was sailing the seas of Africa, but he's never been in South Africa, but he's been in Congo. So he's been in Africa, in the heart of Africa.
If he couldn't live in Uruguay, what of all the places he visited, where would he most like to live?
¿Dónde vivirías si no vivieras en Uruguay?
Y Uruguay no lo cambio. No.
Wouldn't trade Uruguay for nothing in the world.
¿Por qué?
Es más tranquilo, no se compara con otros países, por ejemplo.
Quiet.
Por ejemplo, Alemania es un lindo lugar, pero es como muy apagado. O sea,
Germany is a very nice place, but it's rather dull.
Y acá como que a mí me gusta más el lugar más campestre, más
open air and
más lugar de tierra acá, más abierto, campo.
More earthly. I mean, in Germany there are places like that, because I know I have a friend in Switzerland, and in Switzerland there's a lot of field and everything. But I think that what he means is that he likes it here because of the people and how the people, cómo las personas tratan a las demás personas. El trato de los uruguayos puede ser
de otras personas a los uruguayos, o de nosotros.
Nosotros entre nosotros.
Ah, ¿no? ¿Entre nosotros?
Sí.
Por lo menos nos tratamos bien.
Yeah. What he's trying to say is that Uruguayan treat everyone rather well, let's say.
Hmm.
So it's like in Germany, I mean, he's got a very wasp look, right? And in Germany, he wouldn't have, you know, any problem with appearance, but there's lots of racism. And he told me that they entered a disco, and since he didn't speak, he actually passed off as a German, and he wasn't asked any, you know, he wasn't asked for any documents or anything, and some morochitos en la discoteca les pidieron de todo y no los dejaban pasar.
En
a tus
Alemania
amigos.
hacían discriminación por los latinos en Alemania.
Yeah, because his biological father is actually Polish, but he doesn't carry his father's surname. But he looks very much like a Polish person, especially when he's beardless.
En sí yo no hablaba nada porque no sabía inglés ni alemán.
Yeah, he didn't know any English or German whatsoever, so he was kind of silent and circumspect, and nobody asked him anything.
But the people, his compadres who looked more Latin were asked for papers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
More
Could
Latin.
turn
More
the computer a little bit so you're more in it, Gabby, please. Yeah.
¿Sí?
Yeah,
No.
like this.
No, that you don't need to do that. You can be comfortable. You would see it.
Okay.
Okay. Don't go to sleep on me. When
I'm more comfortable now.
okay. When did you two meet? How and when?
On Tinder.
When? How long has that been?
I think it was love at first click. Yeah. I have been on Tinder for 3 hours, and he had been on Tinder for a week. And so I had 4 friends on Tinder, and he had been talking to a girl on Tinder, and we arranged to meet like a month later. And when we met, we actually, it was our first date, tienda inglesa, café. Yeah.
No.
We went to tienda inglesa, which is like kind of Walmart, like for a coffee, right? And we had 2 big coffees with cream and mint, and yeah, and he brought with him a necklace with a heart and my face on the heart.
Oh, romantico. Oh, muy romantico.
I still have it, but it's not embarrassing per se, but it's like, I feel like he owns me when I wear that. So I wear that every once in a while. Like I don't always wear that,
What?
Digo que no siempre me pongo la medallita. But it's so powerful. It's like he's got so much, influence over me when I wear that.
What did you say on Tinder that made you think, oh, this person is what I'm looking for? This is bueno.
Well, I think that I liked the look because he was wearing tracksuit, understated gray like that, and he had his mate on the floor, and in the background there was a gray wall. Like what I thought is like I kind of like him, and I don't think that he's trying to show something that he's not. Like, guys take a picture with, I don't know, a fancy car at the back, or, I don't know, children, or beautiful landscapes, or, yeah, and he was kind of plain, like, this is who I am, take it or leave it, right? And I had more or less a similar picture. Mi figura era en el parque con una musculosa, ¿no?
Sí,
It was,
sí.
yeah, it was, yeah, my picture was from a distance, and I was wearing nice clothes, but nothing too fancy, and no makeup. Was like that,
So
right? And
the pictures, the photographs is what attracted you, and the not trying to be impressive or
yeah,
put on a
yeah,
show. Mm.
yeah, definitely. And so and he said that he was in the Navy, and I said, oh no, not a milico, no, because we call them milicos, right? When the people are in the Navy or in the Army, we call them milicos. Even police officers, they are called milicos, right? So, well, I said, well, I am going to talk to him, and I'm sure I will be disappointed. So, I'm just going to talk to him, just, to give him a chance, but I know that I will be disappointed. So we decided to meet at Tienda Inglesa at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and when I saw him, there was like butterflies in my stomach, because I said, "Oh my goodness, this could work," and he's tall enough.
The first time you saw him, first glance.
Yeah,
Wow.
and cuando vos me viste la primera vez,
Se me cayó los pantalones.
I think that what he's trying to say is that I took his breath away.
Sabe que sí.
The first time that we saw each other, yeah.
So there really is love at first sight.
I don't know. I tend not to believe in such crap, but I believe that.
Yo miraba para otros lados, ¿vale? Porque digo, no puede ser que. No, mira allá, pero allá no.
On that day, I was wearing plenty of makeup, and I was looking kind of stunning. Yeah, but I wanted, to create that impression. Nothing fancy, but lots of makeup, and he was wearing a beautiful and elegant polo shirt, and these carpenter baggy pants, and cool boots, and nothing too fancy, but I liked the way clothes hang from him. Like, I said, I saw him, carrying the tray with the coffees, and I said, this could definitely work. I hope he's not a moron. I hope he's not a...
He looks good, but it...
Está fuerte.
And how long did it take before you lived together?
Well, that's a different story, because he lived in Montevideo. He was living with his mom, but he was still married, and he had children, and I knew that he was a father, but I didn't know that he was still married, and he wouldn't tell me, and so we almost split up when I finally learned that he was actually married.
But he wasn't living with his wife.
he wasn't living with his wife.
How'd you find out that he was married?
Well, it took a little bit of detective work, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, conversations and all that. And so I decided that I would leave him for good. And he asked me the weirdest question. He asked me, "Can I go with you?" Because I had this, graduation ceremony at the place where I worked. And he said, "Can I go with you?" And I said, "Come on, how are you asking me to come with me? I've dumped you, for God's sake." And and cuando me dijiste que querías ir a la colación de grado del SERP,
Te acompañé.
yeah, and so we took the couch to the coach
Estaba
to
perdido. Pero...
yeah, to Canelones. We were in Montevideo. We had been, having lunch, saddest lunch ever at the mall together, like splitting up, and I was feeling miserable, and so was he. And because he had already broken the news that he was married, and I said, "Well, I don't date married guys." And he understood, and then he said, "Can I go with you?" And so we were standing, grabbing, ourselves from, the bus tightly, and he started crying. He started crying, and I looked at him, and I thought, what kind of human being I am that I am not ready to give an opportunity to a married guy if he is this emotional, because he was emotional, really. And then I remembered that my mom had started dating a married guy, and it ended up well. I mean, it didn't end up beautifully because the guy was difficult, and she never divorced. She died, and he became her widower. But
Was he your father?
everyone,
Was that your?
my mom used to date a married guy.
But that's
And
not
so
your father.
Before she was, of course, married with my father, and they divorced, and then she met this guy at these diet restaurants, microbiotic restaurant, and and before we knew, the guy was living with both of us, and it was rather, it was not great. At the beginning, it was great, but then the guy wasn't what I expected and made my teenage years miserable.
Mm.
And my mom chose him over me, and that was quite disturbing. And then, now that my mom passed, now we do get on well with him, but it took a lifetime to be able to actually forgive him and everything.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I don't.
And then, Chris, what did you learn from that first marriage? What did you learn? Why did you?
De tu primer matrimonio.
Es difícil convivir con los suegros en primera instancia. Y creo que casado casa quiere y quiere vivir solo. Que nadie se meta, y no, eso creo que por un lado eso me afectó bastante.
He used to live with his in-laws, and he regrets having decided to live with his in-laws because in Spanish we say el casado casa quiere, that is to say, if you're married, you want your own home. And ¿qué más?
Y bueno, y el tema de los hijos, bueno, me cambió pila como persona, porque tenía que estar, no sé cómo decirlo, como dependiendo más de los chiquilines, no sé cómo expresar.
And when the children came, he changed completely as a human being because he had someone to care for and, to keep an eye on and all that. And so he changed his personality.
Y el tema de que yo me fui de Congo, fue porque el tema económico también es lo primordial, el tema económico, porque uno sacaba préstamos y era todo para la casa. Pero ¿qué pasa? El tema económico fue el fundamental, pero ¿qué pasa? Fue el peor error mío irme del Congo cuando mi primer hijo no había nacido todavía, que nació al mes después que llegué.
Yeah, he decided to go to Congo on that peace mission, and his wife had been pregnant. So when his daughter was born, he was, away at Congo, and then he had some issues, some financial issues when he came back from Congo. All the money went for the house, and then he missed, he lost the house, and it was not even his. It was his in-laws, and then he bought a house with the money that he brought from the peace missions, and that house was given to his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law lost it. Le conté que con la plata del Congo perdiste la casa, o sea, compraste la casa y perdiste la casa, que se fue a vivir tu cuñado, y después perdió la casa.
Bueno, y uno aprende de errores, ¿no? Bueno, uno de errores aprende.
So you learn from your mistakes, he says.
How did that affect the marriage? Just because there was so much stress.
¿Cómo afectó el matrimonio eso?
Y eso afectó mucho fue el tema económico, que bueno, tal que yo, bueno, yo salí a laburar con mis compañeros, estaba instalando aire acondicionado y todo lo que sea, y no teníamos horas para regreso, o sea, llegamos a cualquier hora, pero era todo el fin, en un fin para la casa. Pero está, yo qué sé, si no te hacen el aguante a veces en la casa,
he decided to be a provider, and back in Uruguay he started working on his own, like installing air conditioning with a friend, and they would hardly see each other, and so the relation went to the dogs there. Yeah.
So when did you move in together, the two of you?
2 years ago.
And how do you coordinate with his children and your daughter?
Well, he's allowed to see his children every Friday, and on top of that, he's allowed to spend the whole weekend with his children every month.
Just so once a month?
1 month, yeah. That's because that's the regime that he had when he was on board. Because when he was on board, There was no other choice. But then the arrangement prevailed. It's like the mother of the children wouldn't allow them to see him more than that.
Mm.
It's out of the question, and we decided that it's quality time, not quantity. So I mean, we little by little we organized some family integration, and now we can say that the five of us have become family in a way. Even though we are family once a month, we are family because whenever whenever they visit, it's not that they visit, it's that they are part of the household too, and I become a mom of three, and they know that,
How
and
how
they know
old
that
how old are
they
the
are
kids?
9 and 15.
And your daughter is,
My daughter is in the middle, 12.
and what
So
it
they hate and love each other depending on
like
the mood.
siblings?
Yeah, pretty much like that. And they have fun. I mean, at the beginning, daughter would hate me. Son wouldn't, I don't know, tell me the time. But then, little by little, one day we decided that we would meet. We would finally meet. And it was on the beach, right? Because they were not allowed to come to my house. But then they were on the beach, and I told him, what are you going to do with the children when they get tired of the beach? Because I live 8 blocks away from the beach. So they ended up coming here, and my daughter and his daughter became siblings the moment they saw each other.
Wow.
And then, of course, that was love at first sight, but then there's been lots of trouble and lots of rows and, and everything like jealousy or, envy or you name it. But they have been able to solve things. Now, there's this issue with Chris's father that is out of the picture, and he's got a stepfather and a mom. And the mom is quite the abandoning kind, let's say, right? Would allow him to sleep in his in her living room, but not allow him to come and go home whenever he wanted. So he was accepted provided he was single, but when I came into the picture, he was kind of rejected, and we have suffered that rejection a lot, because at the beginning we thought that we had enlarged the family with grandparents and everything. So it was like rather disappointing. Now we are in the process of becoming friendly again with his mom and stepfather and half sister and the other half sister and nieces and nephews and all that. But at the beginning, it was quite a disappointment because he was denied. He was denied the entrance to his mom's house, all because of his former wife's making. Like his former wife was plotting against, family stability. So she started, allowing the children to go to grandpa's birthday, but not grandma's. And that was it. Grandma was so furious that she said, I don't want them here anymore. And so he said, well, if you cannot have your grandchildren with you, you can't have me either. So that's what happened.
So are you
And
married?
now,
Did you get married, you two?
no, we decided not to get married for financial reasons and for, maybe even emotional reasons. We are not ready to get married, but we have decided a while ago to keep our finances separated. So we have done the paperwork to have, to own. Each one owns their own assets and debts, and that has worked wonders, because if I had any doubt that I was better off than him, and that he might be with me, out of interest, then that is now out of the question, because he gets nothing. Like, and I bought a new car, and he's not part of it, and he was okay signing that. Le estoy contando que hicimos el concubinato y la separación de bienes. And that has been, like, it's kind of a prenup in the American culture without getting married.
Well,
I don't know if that exists in the US, but it's quite new in Uruguay. It's actually what gay people used to do before gay marriage was even possible in Uruguay.
mm-hmm.
Like if there was a gay spouse that was better off, and they were not spouses because that legal figure didn't exist. So what we decided to do was kind of commit ourselves. Like, we are committing ourselves. Like, it's not that we are boyfriend and girlfriends. Like, we are mates. We are soulmates and life mates. And like, we are getting more, we were bonding closer or something. And so it was like paperwork, but we both knew that it was quite powerful.
Chris,
Yeah.
what's your relationship like with Gabby's daughter?
¿Cómo te llevas con mi papá?
Bien, la verdad que bien de bien porque, o sea, como que sincronizamos muchas cosas, pero bien de bien.
Yeah, Chris gets on very well with my father. I used to get on very badly with my father ever since I started dating from day one. Chris sort of encouraged me to be more patient and more understanding with my father.
Do you mean your daughter or father? You're saying father.
We're talking about father, not daughter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so talking about, ¿cómo te llevas con mi hija?
Bien, bien. Tengo experiencia con el tema de mi nena, que ahora tiene 14 y ahora en este mes que viene cumple los 15. Y bueno, yo creo que al tener hijos, una nena y un nene, uno agarra más experiencia en el sentido de tratar a los chiquilines, y de saber de llevarse con ellos. Digo, yo creo que al tener hijos es como una gran práctica que uno agarra también para con ellos.
Yeah, my daughter doesn't call him daddy at all, and she's okay with him. She told me that he approves the relationship, but on a daily basis, like, she's always bullying him, like, always bullying him, like, what are you doing? You don't do anything, or I don't know, you're good for nothing, or that's my daughter, and he's always with a smile and saying, I don't think so, or um, or Martina, don't be like that. And it's like always, she's always being mean to him, and he's always responding in a good way. And what he was saying is that he's got this experience with children. He's a very good father, even though he's always short of cash, because he's still paying those loans that he once actually, got when he was traveling and everything, and his salary is dramatically reduced, but the very little money that he gets, the very little money that he devotes to his children, like clothes or toys or I don't know, whatever, because ever since he divorced, his former wife gets the state alimony, like his a percent, 30% of his salary is withdrawn for her automatically, and so he's complying with his duties as a father and former husband. Not former husband, because in Uruguay there is not such a thing as a pension that the former wife can get unless the wife has children. And so he is obliged until the minors become 18. So there's some years to go, but we can manage, because it's like this association in which we both work. I get a little bit more money that he does, but then he supports me, helps me out with the household, repairs things for me, accompanies me. It's always thinking, how to improve our well-being. So I think that is important. And of course, I needed to grow, because that's not what women think. Women think that they must have a provider, when it comes to getting married or deciding to live with somebody, that somebody has mandatorily have to have good earnings. But it's not the case with him. It's not the case. But for a while, I would let that financial difference bother me and nag me like hell. Also, with the 8 years that I am his senior, right? It was at the beginning. It was nagging. It was nagging because my daughter was all the time asking, like, on day one, she asked, "How old are you?" Because she already knew. "How old are you?" And he said, "I'm so and so." And "Mommy, how old are you?" And I said, "I'm so and so." But you already know that. You're just nagging us. Ah, okay. And on day two, she would ask the same. And on day three, so until she got tired of. Le estoy contando cuando nos preguntaba todos los días qué edad teníamos. It was rather like come on. It's like as I was biting the dust with her because, yeah. And then it became an issue with the visits of Chris's children. They kind of, the three of them united against us, but they were also defeated.
So they united in trying to break you up?
Yeah,
Mm.
like in movies.
Yeah, it's typical step family. But it's interesting that at least they were together, so they bonded as a team.
There you go. They're just like in movies.
So what do you two do for fun in the face of these challenges from the ex-wife and the children team?
Well, there's nothing. I mean, when Chris's children come, it's kind of a big holiday, even if we are not in the holiday season, because we watch Netflix films, we go to the beach, or we go for a walk, or we go shopping and we buy things that everybody likes, and we play cards, or we play board games, and we play with the dogs, or we simply clean up the garden or put up, the swimming pool, or even an awning. We share tasks, and living room becomes a campsite. We take away the coffee table, and we put some mattresses on, and people, watch TV until very late, and we're always in a good mood. Both Chris and I, we are generally in a good mood, of course, with some exceptions to the rule. But then when the children come, everybody's in a good mood. Like we make like a very hard wall that is, not leaking, or, without holes. Like we are compact, and
The two of
we're
you.
always, yeah, the two of us become a wall. We have become a wall with my daughter first. It's like there's no father says, mother says, no. It's like we both say A. We agree to say A. We both say A. Le estoy contando que con los gurises es que los dos pensamos, o sea, los dos le decimos, ¿pueden o no pueden? No es papá me deja, mamá no me deja, no. Es papá y mamá, whatever, no importa cómo nos digan, ¿no? No matter what we call them, like, he's a father figure and I'm the mother figure. Even if they don't call me mom, they call me Gabby. And now they have started calling me Gabby in a different way. Like it's so heartwarming, because he's such a cupcake. His son is such a good-looking young boy, and he's got this way of saying Gabby, like my heart melts, really. And of course, my daughter gets jealous. Whatever, that's her problem. I pay for her psychoanalyst, so that's for less.
Well, what do you do for fun as a couple? Like some couples do a date night every week or something.
Okay, ¿qué hacemos para divertirnos nosotros?
Bueno, el ajedrez.
We play chess.
Que bueno, por ahora estoy ganando.
We play chess and he wins. We play cards and some game called Rumi Canasta that I win. I taught him. He became a very good player, but he still kind of beat me.
Al uno con Martina.
We play Uno, right? We play board games in general. We even played some internet games.
El juego ese que saltamos de un lado para el otro como...
And then we pick up the dog's crap on the garden and we make jokes about that. Or we say, okay, today's project, the shed project. So we take a picture before and after, like very, very much like a Marie Kondo group. Like, you know, I belong to a Marie Kondo group. And I don't know, sometimes he's a bit lazy, like what you call it, a potato.
Couch
cone?
potato. Couch potato.
A couch potato. And so he becomes a couch potato. So I give him the talk and he becomes active again. Like he mows the grass and I help him out. Or we wash the car or we, I don't know, or sometimes we cook together. Today we cooked together. And he was peeling sweet potatoes and, cleaning the meat today. And we did the shopping with my daughter. We cycled. And when I came back, he had already made the bed and peeled the sweet potatoes. So we had some fried sweet potatoes with some garlic and parsley sauce, with the meat, and the meat was delicious. And we were even, having a bite in the kitchen before we came to the table. And there was nothing to do because actually there was no electricity. So we were cooking together because we cook with gas. Basically. We do have a microwave, but we cook with gas.
Did you tell Chris that you taught me how to cook onions for a long time for pizza?
No. Nunca te conté que you're talking about when I was in Chico back in 2011 and we made pizza in your place. En lo de Gail, yo hice pizza.
Pizza.
Sí, porque había que cocinar algo y mis compañeros estaban de vivo, no iban a lo de Gail porque les habían dado permiso para quedarse en el lobby del hotel y cocinar sus cosas. Pero Gail nos había invitado y yo me fui a hacer lo que yo sabía hacer de memoria, que era pizza.
La clásica pizza.
Yeah, because that is hardly Uruguayan, of course, but I am Uruguayan and Italian. So that's the dish that I know, the very dish that I know how to do from scratch. So, I mean, I couldn't have produced an asado for you because the meat in the States is unbelievably expensive. Like it's impossible. Like, here in Uruguay we eat so much meat. There's more and more vegetarian people as time goes by, but we still eat meat. Like, I am not going to turn vegetarian in a while, I think. Because I am omnivorous. Like, I eat vegetables and fruits and cereals, everything. And on top of that, I eat seafood, fish, meat, poultry, you name it. I love eating. No, not watermelon. I'm not a watermelon fan. No.
You don't like watermelon?
No, really. It's not my cup of tea. I don't like watermelon. But my daughter made me buy a whole quarter of watermelon. And it looks fine. But it's not tempting. Like if I have a bowl of strawberries in the fridge, they do not last long. Si me compro frutillas, no duran
Yo te
nada.
leo.
Yeah, we fight over the strawberries.
So I don't see that you have any areas where you have conflict because you do the children with humor and
Yeah, but we have. I mean, that we don't now doesn't mean that we haven't had these conflicts. Like we have always been able to solve the conflicts.
how that's what I want people to learn.
Yeah, well, jealousy, for example, like every Friday, he visits his children, uh, and he has to go to his former sister-in-law's house, right? So, but that is right after his mom prohibited the entrance, let's say, of his children and himself. Like, it's not that they couldn't visit, but they couldn't visit. Like, she wouldn't allow the children to sleep in there, to have a sleepover there, every now and then to crash, every now and then. So the response was that he was going to find somewhere else to visit the children. And, well, he's got two somewhere else's, like my place, which is 45 kilometers away, and the former sister-in-law's place. So at the beginning, that was rather challenging for me, let's say. Like, I knew that he was going to run into his former wife, and once he told me that he had invited him for fried buns or something like that, pasteles, and I said, but you didn't go for the pasteles. No, I didn't. Well done. Well done. Like cuando te invitó Eva con los pasteles que le dijiste que no.
No.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't want to think of what could have happened if he had agreed to have those. So I'm just glad that he didn't. I'm glad that he didn't.
So what tell me again, if there's a conflict, how you resolve it. I mean, people say communication is the key, but what does that really mean?
Yo creo que hablando.
We talk.
Hablando, ahora que por ejemplo, mi ex pareja tiene pareja estable.
Yay.
Yo creo que
Former wife has a new couple.
la forma más adecuada es hablar. Hablando que esté la pareja presente, digo, y porque la idea es solucionar el tema, digo, porque hay niños de por medio. O sea, sería la idea mejor es hablarlo.
Yeah, it's like I think that now we have reached this level in which we think as parents, not just as a couple. So we are thinking of the welfare of the children. We are no longer on our own.
Que nos dejen llevar a los niños y lo dejemos en la puerta, no lo dejemos en la esquina.
Yeah, the children's mom doesn't allow me to park my car in front of her house. Yeah, and that was, I think, a subject of controversy. But then I decided that I don't give a damn for that. So I don't care. I can actually park my car around the corner, and that doesn't, bother me at all. Now it used to. Or I don't know, my in-laws are rather difficult people, like, and so they could never entirely embrace the relationship with me. They did with my daughter. They pretended to be the perfect grandparents with her, but it was all, to bother me. Like, I entered my mother-in-law's house, and she wouldn't ever invite me for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something to drink. Like, she's been incredibly rude to me,
Yeah.
and I was always forgiving with her, always. I was never complaining about that. Once she got to the extreme of sending us to sleep in a tent in the garden. Voy a dormir en carpa. Yeah. She lent us a tent and told me that we had to sleep in a tent in the front yard. And I didn't complain because I knew that I was sleeping with him. So imagine sleeping in a tent in a non-fancy neighborhood surrounded by walls. That we have to say, yeah, there's a fence, there's a wall. But then I felt like I don't know, like, who am I? I mean, why should I? I mean, I've been in 5 star hotels, and now I'm sleeping in a tent, and that makes me sad. I feel like, what are my accomplishments in life? And then I said, well, calm down. You are with him. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And all of a sudden, I started imagining that we were in a campsite, in a fancy campsite in the east of the country, and and all of a sudden it became fun again.
Brilliant.
Like, we were playing cards in the tent. Jugamos a las cartas en la carpa. Yeah, and so when they woke up, the children would come and colonize our tent, and so if she wanted to bother me, she couldn't. She couldn't make it.
Brilliant. Has she softened now?
Yeah, definitely. Because I became the link. I became his. I became his link with his mom, not because I speak to her, but because she knows that I am not holding a grudge against her. And I spoke to her and sent her a message like, the doors of my house are open to her and her family, and that I hope, or I look forward to meet them again and have some meat together. And she sent me a bag full of homemade, not homemade, nothing, of peaches, like peaches from, a tree that she owns. So the peaches were green, and some were overripe, or, some were full of holes and everything. But I produced the most wonderful
Pie.
peaches. Like, I cooked them with sugar and very little water, and I created a beautiful dessert out of that, and we ate it up. And then we had this argument with Christian over money. I think it was over money, but I don't know. I think I was about to have my period or something, and I was rather, I don't know, I don't remember why we were having such a terrible. ¿Por qué nos peleamos la última vez que yo tiré los duraznos a la miércoles? ¿Por qué fue?
No sé.
Fue porque vos, ¿qué te mandaste? ¿Qué hiciste? Que después dijiste, sí, que yo, que... Well,
No.
we don't remember. We don't remember what the argument was all about, but I do remember that I became the ram, and so I went to the fridge and took the jar of peaches, delicious and fresh, and showed them to him in the face and said, I am not cooking tonight, and you are not having the peaches either, because the peaches are going to the trash can. And so I took the peaches to the trash can and so emptied the trash can, emptied the peaches in the trash can, and brought back the jar, empty jar, and said, ha, look, we are not having peaches tonight. And I know that is something that's almost a sin, because with this hunger in the world but I was so disappointed that instead of becoming violent, I became mean. And that was our last argument.
How?
And because he realized that he had hurt me so greatly that even though he was angry himself, he was prepared to negotiate or something.
How long ago was that?
Well, it was 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
I now remember why. It's like it was summertime, and we had been going to the beach a lot.
Do you mean 2 years ago or 2 weeks? Because 2 weeks
ago.
2 weeks wasn't summer, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's
summer.
right. Oh, yeah, got it.
So when I arrived home after, I don't know what, after a regular day, let's say, I went to the garden and the swimming pool was filthy and there were tools everywhere, like scattered around, and the grass hadn't been mown, and it was, the backyard was in a state. And so I couldn't help it. I became so angry. And we had this argument, and he said, here we go again, like the typical husband answer, like, here we go again. And I said, the hell yeah. We are going to have this conversation. We are going to have this conversation because this is simply not fair. And so, conversation. Yeah. And it was because we always argue on Thursdays. Because on Fridays is Daddy's Day. So on Thursdays, I become more insecure about our relationship. On Thursdays, I get so sad. Yeah.
How did you resolve the messy yard? How did that argument get resolved?
Well, on the following day, it was Daddy's Day, and on Sunday, we simply mowed the grass and did the makeover of the shed, and we worked very hard, and we were back to who we are from day one, because from day one he's been helping me. So in a way, I was telling him, like, you are not helping me like the way you did, like the way you used to do when we were dating. And that's not true. But sometimes he needs a little bit of a push on my side, like I need to push him a little.
Is Chris, are you still shipping out on the boats in the Navy?
No, no está saliendo en el barco.
No, yo hace 5 años y medio, no,
2 años.
2 años y medio que ya estoy desembarcado.
Yeah, he found a way off the ship and he's working on land. He's working on a division called Physical Education Direction of the Navy. The acronym is DIREF, and that is National Navy. And it's on land on a fancy neighborhood called Carrasco. So he's working, a block away from the sea, but he's working as an electrician, which he really is because he learned electricity on the boat. So he's now an electrician, and he's chief electrician there, and he's got people under his command, actually.
Perfect.
He's been in boats for 20 years, but now he's.
Come on, Skype.
Yeah.
Okay, it skipped. So is Chris, anything else that you would like to, what would you say to your children if they're saying, Papa, I'm thinking of getting married? What advice would you give me so I'd have a happy relationship like you and Gabby have?
¿Qué consejo le darías a tus hijos si te dicen, papá, estoy pensando en casarme y vos quisieras que ellos fueran felices como nosotros?
Bueno, en primer lugar, yo lo que les pido es que estudien, ¿tá? Porque, digo, yo no quiero que lo que yo pasé, no quiero que lo pasen ellos, entonces yo prefiero que estudien y bueno, se hace un esfuerzo para que estudien, que eso hoy en día es la base de todo, no quiero que pasen lo mismo que yo pasé. Más allá, digo, de que uno a veces tropieza con la misma piedra, pero yo ahora estoy tranquilo, estoy contigo, pero digo, no quiero que pasen lo que yo pasé.
He would tell his children to study so as they don't have to be dependent on somebody, and because he doesn't want them to go through the same drill that he's been through, but he's now okay because he feels okay with me, but not everybody has that blessing. Like, for example, my mom used to be financially dependent on her husband. And her husband was rather, I'm not going to say that he was a douchebag, but he was actually a douchebag. And acted like one and then repented, but he repented once my mother had passed, so it was a trifle late.
Yes.
Yeah, and my mom used to be financially dependent, even though she was a lawyer, a university lawyer and everything, but she couldn't make ends meet. And it's a reality for many people that they need to rely financially on their partner, and it's rather sad. And you can find an arrangement. Based on love and respect, and of course attraction. Because when you said, what do you guys do for fun? Well, we go and we have fun in the sack, lots of fun in the sack. And that has been the case from day one, right? But it's not just that. And the moment we realized it was not just that, we were terrified. We were terrified. Like, I wanted him to actually ask me to be his girlfriend, but then I repented and say, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. And then it was like, we didn't know. Le estoy contando que cuando queríamos formalizar, estábamos los dos muertos de miedo.
Y sí, porque, o sea, más allá, digo, lo que pasaste tú, lo que pasé yo, entonces el comienzo era medio difícil.
Everything was so difficult for us for different reasons. Like I had become a widow. He had become, because something that he didn't mention is that his wife was not loyal to him. So he discovered his wife being unfaithful, and that broke his heart. And he was prepared to forgive her, but then she wouldn't let him forgive her. And then she was the one interested when he was, when his interest was fading, he met me. And she was in desperate need of getting him back. And once my mother-in-law had invited me to her birthday 5 years ago, and she appeared with the children. And I was having mate, and I offered her a mate, and she said, it's okay, I drink mate, but thank you, but no thank you. And when I was leaving, she said, she's playing us both, and he will end up with me. And I'm a chatterbox. And at that time, I looked at her and said, and went away. And we had the argument of our lives. Like, we were arguing. We couldn't go arguing all the way, car drive from, his mom's place to my place because of my daughter. But we were that deadly silence. And then when my daughter went to bed 5 years ago, we started talking, like being, hard and, recriminating. And it was so sad. And I threw him away. I would throw him away. I said, okay, you're no longer welcome in this house. Go away. I don't want ever to see you again, ever. And then I don't know what happened. On that same day, we started texting each other. Like we were texting each other, like we were saying, but one day we will gather and speak. And, I don't want things to end this way. Let me tell you that, to make it short, we ended up texting at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were separated for a week only. So when he came back from that week of separation, we were in love again. Le estoy contando cuando nos peleamos, cuando Eva dijo que esa vez está jugando a 2 puntas y se va a quedar conmigo.
Sí.
Sí.
A la casa de mamá.
Yeah. It wasn't his fault what his ex-wife did. It wasn't his fault.
Well, it wasn't his fault up to he didn't clarify things. It was like Grey's Anatomy when the protagonist gets to know the former wife, and the husband, the still husband and lover, right, doesn't make things clear.
No, claro,
Like, let the woman fight against each other.
Got it.
Maybe he was not ready, right? Yeah, I saw that, and I pictured that moment in which he didn't stand up for me and say, well, what are you saying? She's my girlfriend, you know,
I
have some
see.
respect or something. Like, he wouldn't do that.
Got it.
So I had to be patient and brave, very brave, and I'm willing to solve things at the same time, and in the meantime convince him that I was a better option and that many people would be happy to be in his place.
Does he have brothers and sisters, Chris?
A half sister living in Montevideo with a niece, and another half sister living in Argentina with 3 nieces and nephews.
But in his family where he grew up, he was the only child like you were?
Yeah, because he's the oldest or the eldest, and he used to be with his grandparents because his mom kind of took off to Montevideo and created another family. Let's say, met a good man, had this new daughter. In the meantime, she had experienced with another man and had another daughter. So it's rather complex. It's a very sad story. Like, people think that such stories occur in films only, but they don't. They happen in real life. And it's very sad. Like, he needed to get over that. And I think that the army was like his stepmom to a great extent.
Got it. I want to ask you about your first marriage so Chris doesn't have to sit and hear you speak English if he wants to do something else.
Okay. Ella me va a preguntar de mi primera experiencia con el papá de Martina. Entonces, bueno, que vos no te sientas mal ni nada.
No.
Okay. Yes. He's staying.
Okay. How did you meet your first husband, and what drew you to him? Why did you marry him?
At the beach, and then at a disco, and we married because we were perfect for each other.
How so?
We were both idealistic and poor, and we were ready to fight against all odds. Same that we say now. We didn't say that then, back then. We say it. We say against all odds because we realize that there's, so much on our plates. But in those times, I was ready to be poor. I was ready to pay the rent. I was ready to be penniless. I was so ready to be with that man and follow him to the end of the world.
How old were you two when you met?
I was 20 and my boyfriend was 24.
And then how long did it take before you got married?
A year and a half.
So you were finished with university when you got married?
Yeah, no, because I had quit university and I had been studying at the teacher training, and before finishing the teacher training, I decided that we would date, and then we moved together when I started working. He was an upholsterer, and he worked 8 hours in a big factory, in a big furniture factory.
And did he go to university as well?
No, no, no. He had this trade. He had been working at the casino, but he had um, quit it because he didn't like, to live during the night. So basically, uh, he decided to have this industrious trade and very creative, very very professional furniture maker, let's say.
And how long were you married?
We married in 1993, and Eddie died in 2014.
How did you cope with that? Did he die after a long illness or suddenly, or how did you?
1 year he was diagnosed with cancer in 2013, and in 2014 he died, and it was very sad. It was like sliding down to hell. And on the following day, when he died, and we had this funeral and we buried him, I was wondering why I was still alive.
Hmm.
And then I said, well, there's a reason why I'm still alive, so I need to keep myself alive.
Well, your daughter was a
For
reason.
the sake of my daughter and for the sake of myself, because there's a reason why. Because he had already had this talk with me in which he had told me that he wanted me to find another person should he die. And I said, come on, don't talk nonsense. You're not dying. But he said it to me.
Hmm. And how did you grow or change, evolve because of that marriage?
You mean
As a person, as an individual.
the pros of having been married to him? I was a conceited brat, let's say, and he was like my father. And we shared the expenses, and we shared the bed, and we shared every conversation, but he was a little bit more chauvinistic than the person sitting next to me. So, but I didn't realize because I thought all men were the same. So I didn't care if he would tell me that he wouldn't play truco with women. So he wouldn't play truco with me because this card game called truco is very much macho thing in Uruguay and Argentina. So uh, he was into sports a lot, same with him, but he wouldn't object my playing volleyball with him, but my husband would. Like, he felt uncomfortable if I played volleyball with him. He was an accomplished volleyball player. I wasn't, so that was out of the question that I would play volleyball with him. I tried, and he discouraged me. I mean, it was not perfect, but I loved him dearly, madly. I followed him. I lost my friends in Montevideo. I moved to Atlantida with him. I had a daughter, even though I had said that I didn't care, to have children. And then, of course, I fell in love with my daughter the moment I gave birth to her. Vení, Martu.
Have her come and say hello.
Yes, Gail. This is my daughter, Martina.
Hi.
Hola. Come and talk to us. Sit down for a minute.
English.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo no sé hablar inglés.
Yes, you speak English.
Please.
You do.
So.
Ponete más cerca, Marta. Sí.
No.
Acérquese.
Qué vergüenza.
Claro,
Okay, she's
Por
embarrassed.
favor. Por favor. Un poquito.
She's a
Se fue.
beautiful teenager. Now, that's the thing with her these days. She becomes embarrassed because of everything. Typical teenager.
Do you think there's a stereotype that Latin America, machismo, marinismo, is that still common, or is it dying out with younger people?
No, it's not dying out. It's not dying out. On the contrary, I think that it's a part of what's politically correct to be. It's like politically incorrect to be machista, but deep inside, guys are so chauvinistic. They are not into real feminism. There's always been feminist men, but he's a feminist man.
Yes.
He of all people, like he's got to cook, he cooks, he's got to clean, he cleans, he's got to make the bed, he grounds and then makes the bed. If he has to, hang clothes on the washing line, he does. He does it on a daily basis, actually. I drive our car. For starters, because I am the owner and the responsible for it, but also because I can. It's like he's not criticizing my driving. We went to the frontier with Brazil 3 days ago, and I drove for 8 hours with him by my side, and he was faithful in my driving. That tells a lot.
Yes, I agree.
From 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning, that's a lot of alone time together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you
But
do?
we were talking about my former marriage.
Yeah. Right. And what you'd learned, how you grew from it.
Well, I believe that he was my teacher. He taught me how to be a person. He taught me the ways of a family. He taught me to be more generous. He taught me love. He taught me hard work. He taught me to love myself. He was always thinking greater about myself than I did.
How did you resolve conflicts with him when he was being machismo?
Oh, that was difficult, but I was never silent. Same as with this one. People say that they are quite alike physically. Like black and white version of the same model. It's too harsh, but I would speak to him in the face and spit everything out. Say, I cannot stay silent. I cannot tell the person who's sharing my bed. I cannot hide the way I feel. This is something that I cannot do and I shouldn't do. And I'm teaching my daughter in a way that women should always speak up and women should always defend themselves and other women yeah.
That's feminism,
But,
yes.
yeah. It's like I drive, but when it comes to intimacy, I don't care. It's like I could be a lady in trouble. I don't care. But when it comes to real life, I believe that I am in charge of my own life, and nobody can get in the way. Nobody can get in the way, not even him. So he knows that, and he's still next to me. So that's what matters.
Mm-hmm. How did you make romance stay alive for 20 years in the first marriage?
It was 2 days. It was not 20 years. It was 2 days. It was like he was not an easygoing person. He was easygoing with his friends, but not with me. So I spent a lot of time trying to brighten up his day. And then I learned that he might have been like that because of his illness, because we didn't know that his blood had been contaminated with his old calcium from his own bones. Like his cancer was responsible for deteriorating the bones and getting the calcium into the blood. That is what multiple myeloma is all about. Like cancer destroying the bones and getting the calcium into the blood. And that blood is intoxicating his brain and his heart and his lungs little by little. And people don't know about that. So I became more understanding the moment I understood what was going on in his body.
Any last words of advice? Like, what would you say to your daughter if she said, I'm thinking about marrying this young man?
If I had to advise my daughter or a student, a feminine student, on what to do and what not to do, it's like always be yourself. So the person who's next to you knows that he's dating or marrying or living with somebody who's completely proud of being who she is and wouldn't trade that for anything in the world, even though you may want to improve and, be better off, whatever. But I think that COVID-19 has been showing us what's essential and what's not. Because, these appearances and fancy clothes and everything, and I've been always not a fashion addict, but I've always been driven by good clothes and matching colors and all that, because it's in the family. My mom used to be like that, and so are my aunties and grannies and all that. So it's in the family to be like that. Not everybody is like that. I used to kind of slightly disrespect people who were not matching their colors. Like, how come that she doesn't match her colors, right? Yeah. And so when my daughter was a baby and I was choosing her clothes, she was like a magazine baby, and when I was not deciding what she would wear, that would show because my husband would dress her up in an orange sweater and lemon green pair of pants and pink sneakers and blue ribbon or whatever. So yeah.
How fun.
Yeah, I've always been very, very careful about what I wear. Yeah.
It's a
In
craft.
Spanish, we say, mejor muerta que, like, better dead than, badly dressed or something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
How would you feel about showing us like the yard and the pool and a little bit of the house? So, because you've talked about it, it'd be
we don't
nice
have
to.
a pool because we actually dismantled it. That was a big decision, but we can share. Vamos a mostrarle la casa.
Bueno,
Okay.
Bueno.
Okay, let's have a tour around Playa Paraíso. Yeah.
Sí.
We can start from the outside.
Bueno.
Yes.
Perfecto.
Okay.
Gracias.
Okay. So let me put on my boots.
bueno, ¿lo llevas tú?
No.
¿Yo?
Yes.
Ok, vas tú y...
Yes.
Bueno.
Come on, Skype. Come on, Skype.
Ahí está.
It's raining.
Oh.
Okay.
Acá.
This is a house. And that's a new car. This is a new car. I used to drive a 1994 Festiva Ford car, and now we're going to the leftovers of a lovely lunch here on the table. There. Fried sweet potatoes. And then
Está medio para... Rojito. Ahí. Mira la luz, la luz.
the bedroom. Bedroom. Here. Bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Bedroom.
Se ve ahí.
And
Esa todavía le voy a mostrar.
yeah,
Yes.
there's a mess with the clothes.
Esa.
And there's a mess with the dining room as well. And se van a dar buenas con el comedor. So,
A ver. Okay.
all the laundry that needs to be placed in the cabinets and wardrobe, but not yet because we were having a conversation with you. And this is the kitchen. Full of paper because we were trying to take away the oil from the fried sweet potatoes and basil plants that I bought today. And well, just as it is. And then this is my daughter's bedroom, the Portonato.
Vamos por ahí. Relajo en la mesa.
Chest, made chest boards. This is for the beach, and they are magnetic. We made them. Yeah. The puppies. Sophie and Kiki.
No, espera que cerrar la puerta.
Okay. The big yard. Sophie. And this is my daughter's bedroom. Atu, prende la luz. She's asking me why. She's not going to turn on the light. Can you turn on the light? Because Gail wants to see our house. Okay. So this is Martina's place in the house with lots of Stranger Things posters on the wall. And,
What?
well, yeah. And then we have a lovely barbecue place full of baskets and everything. You know, hear that. What? Raspberry, I believe, over there, and a lemon tree over there,
Moneda.
and citron over there,
Sí.
and a cedron, and Santa Rita, and then there's a hammock here. And mi lugar favorito, my favorite place.
Solo fue.
This is kind of a second living room, and here I created this out of a garage, right?
Right.
And here I put all the. This is kind of a shed, and the toys, you know, and that plants need water. Grandma and grandpa.
Eso.
Oops. Happy couple. Always a happy couple. Both of them. Probably the reason why I managed to have two good relationships. Romantic relationships. This is a shed where the magic happens, because we paint and we sort of, you know, repair and do stuff here, gardening.
Está ordenada.
Yeah, white. Well, in a good state, and then we have a library here. We have a library. And this go. There's an orphan here. My daughter plays the organ. And books. I finally placed all the books here. And that's it. That's my house.
Oh, muchas gracias. Muy bueno.
Mi casa, tu casa.
Oui, c'est ça. I mean, sí. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a happy rest of the day.
Gracias. Okay.
Adios.
Okay. And then I can send the results of Chris's test, which
Gracias.
he did.
Gracias. Muchas
Oh,
gracias.
That's
Adios.
pretty much.
Adios.
Pretty
Gracias.
much. Goodbye.
Adios. Gracias.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Okay. Bye.
Adios.